your job in your 50s or 60s can hit differently than earlier in our career. For me, it wasn't just about finding another job. It was about my energy, my time, and, trying to start over when I thought I was on a path that was leading in a certain direction. So if you're in this situation now, please know that you're not alone. I've been there a couple of times in my 50s, and I've landed on my feet, and there's many, many others who have been there too. If you're new to my channel, my name's Gail, and this is 60 and Solo, where we have honest conversations about what do we do when life doesn't go as planned, and how do we build a life that's going to work for us at our age. And sometimes we talk about lessons we've learned the hard way. And so we've had a few conversations now about job loss. And so that's the topic that we're on now. What do we do when we thought our job was going a certain way and then it just ends and we've got to start all over? So if you are new to the channel, I welcome you here. And if you are a part of these other conversations that we've had and you've subscribed, I want to thank you so much. And I was inspired by several of the stories that you shared in the comments. So if you're new, go back and check out some of the comments on the first video. There are a lot of inspirational stories of people who landed on their feet. But if you're here now, please know everybody understands what an uncomfortable spot you're in. It is not easy to lose your job, especially in your 50s, at any age really. But, I am going to share 8 tips on what helped me. And as I share them, I'm going to sound positive and I'm going to sound energetic, but please know I remember what it was like to go through this. It was not easy. The panic and all the feelings and just, throwing your resume into the black pit and hoping somebody's going to pick it up, going for interviews when you think you're going to get an offer and then the recruiter just ghosts you. I've been there. So I'm going to share 8 personal tips on what helped me get through these 2 job losses and how I pivoted myself to where I am today. And if you are watching this and you also have some tips, please share them in the comments below. Life is better shared, and we are here to help each other out. So just the quick story, if you haven't watched my other 2 videos, I did lose my job twice in my 50s. The first time it was a run-of-the-mill layoff. I repositioned myself after that. I was in nonprofit, pivoted my career to HR, and then I was in HR for a long time, lost my job at 58, and I repivoted my focus to a learning and development focus. And then that job, I did land on my feet all the times, but this last job I wasn't happy with, so now I am in China teaching English, and I'm kind of semi-retired. And so I'm coming to you from my apartment here in Wuhan, China. My first 2 videos, I was in Cambodia on my 6-week vacation that I have. And so I launched my channel from my friend's apartment in Cambodia. And now I'm back home getting ready to go back to school on Monday. So let's get into my 8 tips, and I'm going to try to make them as quick as possible, but I can be a little chatty, so please forgive me if I look up and down at my notes to keep myself on track. So tip number 1 is, remember, if you lost your job, give yourself time to grieve. You're going through a stressful time. It's a loss. It's a real loss, and so remember, your mind and your body are affected, so let yourself grieve and take care of yourself and be gentle with yourself as you go through this grieving process. Tip number 2, again, easier said than done when you're worried about everything. And I've been there, especially that first one. I was going through a divorce. I had no savings, and I was trying to put my son through high school and then into college. So I was really scared. But tip number 2 is, don't panic. Stay grounded. Make sure you don't avoid your finances. Make practical decisions and just try to keep yourself grounded. Exercise, eat right. do affirmations, do everything that you can to keep your body and your mind calm, because you want to push yourself through this next phase. My third tip is I want to encourage you to do a little soul searching and take some time for yourself to let yourself dream a little bit. We know at our age that growth doesn't happen when we're comfortable. So we had a situation, we were in a job, maybe it was comfortable, maybe it wasn't comfortable. We don't have that job now. So this is a time to ask ourselves, was there a higher purpose to that? Is there something else I'm supposed to be doing? Is there something else that could make me happier? So, you had a situation, maybe you were content, but there's always good things and bad things. So I want to encourage you to just take time to dream about what would your ideal life look like right now. I'm a list maker. I like to make a lot of lists, and I like to write things down, make a little picture of the vision, what I like my life to look like. And that works for me. And every time I've lost a job or I've pivoted, I do this exercise and it works for me. And I usually end up getting what I want. 2 resources that I want to encourage you to look into. One is just pull out your old personality tests, like the Myers-Briggs type indicator. If you haven't taken that, I'll drop a link to a free test below. Also the Enneagram, that's another one. You can find some free tests online. I'll drop a link below. And the Strength Finder is a book. It's not a free one. You have to buy it, but that's another really good resource to help you just kind of get back to who you are. Remember, you are a special person with a special calling in this world. So just take some time to tap in. Remember who you are, and remember you've got a special light to shine in the world and a special message. So I find those personality tests and just getting back to who I am and really helpful. So I want to encourage you to do that. Another book that I find really helpful is a book called The Path by Laurie Beth Jones. And this book helps you write your own mission statement for your career. And it takes you through some exercises. So I'll just put a screenshot up here and drop a link below too. But I want to encourage you to look into that book. The reason that I'm telling you to take some time to soul search is that my first time I was laid off, I did not do that, and I made some mistakes. So please learn from my mistakes. I did panic, and I went out and I started interviewing for jobs that I just didn't even want, because I didn't take time to ground myself and think about what I wanted my new life to look like after I lost that first nonprofit job. And so I had lots of conversations with lots of important people in my community that people were lining me up with. And I feel like I did a disservice to myself because I really didn't know what I was wanted. And so don't make my mistake. Ground yourself and know what you want before you start, interviewing and looking for jobs. Be clear. So that leads into tip number 4. You might have multiple paths you're looking at. So be clear on what you're trying to do. You're not just trying to get a job. You're trying to find your next thing. So, what are you looking for? A full-time role, another full-time role? Do you want it to be the same type of role that you had before? Do you want a different type of role than you had before? Do you want to change careers altogether? Do you want to start something brand new? Do you want to semi-retire or even retire or get something flexible going for yourself? Or do you want to try to pursue multiple paths at the same time? Whatever your plan is going to be clear about it, and then make sure you've got paths for each direction you're going. Tip number 5 might annoy you. Because again, I remember, all of the anxiety, and for me, I had some depression when I was looking for jobs, and the black hole and the interviews that don't go anywhere. I remember all that. But tip number 5 is stay positive. And I'm telling you this because I made the mistake of not staying positive. And this was the first time I lost my job. I allowed myself to be negative, and I was hobnobbing with people that we all got laid off at the same time, and people were negative, and we were kind of in this, pulling each other back into these rabbit holes. And I just want to encourage you to stay positive. And, it's very normal to be angry at your former workplace and all these kind of things, but just try to keep your headspace as positive as possible. I am a faith-based person, so I do believe that there is a higher calling, and I believe that always. There's always a place for us. There's something we're supposed to be doing, and there's always a higher calling. And so, I like to surround myself with people that also think like that. And I learned that the hard way. And then also I do affirmations. So sometimes I give these affirmations to myself. I remind myself of who I am and what I've come through and, all that kind of stuff. And then there's a resource that I'll also share with you. It's an affirmation guru. Her name is Louise Hay. And I'll just put her name up here. You can search for her on YouTube. Her affirmations are everywhere. She's famous. And so I listen to her affirmations because she's got a lot of them for people later in life, and how it's never too late to learn. It's never too late to change. It's never too late to start again. So I like her affirmations. So I want to encourage you, because staying positive is just going to help you. It's, going into those rabbit holes, it does not help our mental health. And so sometimes I know we're discouraged and we just need to rest. We need give our body the rest. So do that when you need to do it, but try to stay positive. And one thing that works for me is I try to pretend that I'm not my age. So I know that ageism can be a thing, but when I lost my job in my 50s, I just pretended that I wasn't in my 50s. I just focused on my skills, and I just put myself out there and just pretended that ageism wasn't a thing. And that worked for me. 3 times that worked for me, because one job I quit and I got another job after, I didn't get let go. I quit the job and I got another job. So I want to encourage you. I know our economy is tough, but I want to encourage you to just pretend like it's not, and just keep your spirits high, and, believe that there's going to be a thing for you out there. So I'll tell you an encouraging story. I have a friend who I worked with at a company, and he got laid off during the pandemic. And I have seen him, so now it's 2026, so, it's like 6 years since we've gone through all that. I have seen this guy pivot, I think 4 times in the last 6 years. He's an IT professional, so he was in that field, and he's older than me. I think he's like 3 years older than me. And he has not had any troubles pivoting and landing another job. So if he can do it, we can do it. And so I just want to encourage you with his story. Tip number 6 is, what I find helpful is to structure my day. And when I'm looking for work, that is my job. So I get up, I exercise, I eat healthy, I dress myself, I put on my makeup, I do my hair, and I sit down to look for a job as if that were my job, as if I were at work. Now, if you watch my first video, I'm kind of a workhorse. I do set boundaries around that. So I have, a start time and an end time, and I just do it for 8 hours a day looking for a job, or these activities around finding a new job. And then in the evenings, I would go out and do some things that were going to be healthy for myself, because again, keeping my spirits high is really important to me. And looking for work is stressful and can be a little bit depressing. So during those 8 hours, here are some of the things that I would do. I got certifications, or I would do more education to keep my skills current. I would network. I would contact recruiters or people that I knew. I would, make myself call people and just do networking that I needed to do. I would join networking groups, either online groups, or I would go in person to networking groups. And I would have a set amount of jobs that I would apply for. So my last time I applied for 5 jobs a day. And that's what I told myself I would do. And I would stay open and just make sure I got those 5 applications in. So that's works for me, structuring my day. It helped make me feel professional. If I was sitting around in my pajamas, I didn't feel professional and I didn't feel good about myself. So I want to share that tip with you. Tip number 7 kind of goes along those lines of networking is don't isolate. And again, I wanted to isolate because I would be depressed and discouraged. And so I would force myself to get out there, network, do the networking things, but also use the time to get together with people that I hadn't seen. I haven't seen a lot of my friends because I was so busy at work. So why not use this time to reconnect with some of these old friends and just touch bases with them and spend time in this positive way. So I encourage you to do the same thing. The last tip that I want to share with you is I want to encourage you to use AI to help you in your job search. So 2 ways that I've used it is it can be a good coach, and then also you can use it to help to fine-tune your resume for these next jobs that you're looking for. One tip that I want to give you, though, is if you do use AI, you can't always trust it. And then if you use it to redo your resume, remember, you got to go through and you need to edit it and really add your own voice. So I'll use it to I can be kind of wordy as you're seeing. So I'll use it to kind of tighten up my resume, but then I'll go back and put my own voice into it. And just a note, in the HR circles right now, HR people are seeing that they're getting these cookie cutter resumes because people are using AI to apply for these jobs. So they're getting resumes that all look the same. So you do want to edit your resume even if you do use AI. But I encourage you to use it. It's a tool and it's super helpful. So those are the 8 tips that helped me navigate through this very, very uncomfortable season 2 times when I lost my job. And I made it to the other side. So I hope they gave you something to think about. I want to leave you with one other resource. There's a channel called Life After Layoff. And this is a recruiter who gives tips to people if they've lost their job. So I want to encourage you to check that site out. It's really good. And so just remember, keep the faith. There is something out there for you. You have a unique light to shine. And just because you lost your job at the age of 50 or 60, it doesn't mean that everything's over. It doesn't mean you were a failure. It just means something shifted, and it might be the chance for you to pivot yourself into a more peaceful and happy life. And so that's my wish for you. And I want to thank you so much for being a part of this conversation with me today. And I am just looking forward to many, many more. I'll see you next time.